Hello everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel Best IT Solution. And today we will see what is Spring Framework and what is IOC container and what is dependency injection. Okay, so we will see one by one. So first, what is Spring? So Spring is a lightweight framework. It can be thought of as a framework of framework because it provides supports for various frameworks. So Spring is a lightweight Spring framework, and it can be thought of as a framework of framework because it provides supports for various, since it provides the supports for other different type of framework, so it is called as a framework of framework. So it is a lightweight framework for Java, and it is a framework of framework. So it provides supports for various framework like struts, hibernate, tapestry, EJB, JSF, etc. So this type of framework it supports struts, hibernate, tapestry, EJB enterprise Java beans, JSF. So all these frameworks were supported by the Spring framework. So it is called a framework of framework. The framework in broader sense can be defined as a structure where we find solution of the various technical problems. So what is the meaning of framework? So the framework in broader sense can be defined as a structure. So framework can be defined as a structure where we find solution of the various technical problems. So in framework where we can find the solutions of different type of technical problems. So if we use the framework of any language, so we can easily do the different type of operation with the help of the framework. Okay, so the framework in broader sense can be defined as a structure where we find solutions of the various technical problems. Okay, then the Spring framework comprises several modules. So in Spring framework contains several modules such as IOC. So IOC is a module, AOP, DAO, context, ORM, and web MVC. So these are the modules which container comprises Spring framework. Okay, so IOC means inversion of control, aspect oriented programming, DAO means data access object, and the context also ORM, object relational mapping, and web MVC. Web MVC also one modules of this. So these are the modules which is present inside the Spring container. Okay, and Spring framework provides the features to working with. So it provides also different features to work like Pojo. So it provides Pojo features. Pojo means plain old Java object. Okay, so Pojo and DI dependency injection also it provides, and MVC model view controller, and REST represent and state transfer, security. It provides Spring security also one of the important module of Spring framework, and Spring batch is there, Spring data JPA is also there, and AOP aspect oriented programming, etc. So these are the framework, these are the features which are provided by the Spring: Pojo, dependency injection, MVC, REST, security, batch, data, AOP. Okay. So what is AOP? So AOP one key component. Aspect oriented programming. So AOP is an aspect oriented programming. Okay, so Spring AOP module provides interceptors to intercept an application. Okay, so Spring AOP module provides an interceptor to intercept an application. Okay, so it is a key component, aspect oriented programming. So AOP is the one of the key component of the Spring. Example, when a method execute, you can add extra functionality before or after the method execution. So AOP means when a method execute, you can add extra functionality before or after the method execution. So before or after the when a method executes, before the method execution you can add some extra functionality, and after the method execution also you can add some extra functionality with the help of this AOP, aspect oriented programming. Okay, so what are the advantages of Spring framework? Okay, so advantages of like predefined templates such as JDBC, Hibernate, JPA, etc. So it contains some predefined templates. Predefined templates means JDBC template, Hibernate template, and JPA, Java Persistence API. So these are the predefined template it provides. So with the help of this predefined template we can work. We can do our work easily. Okay. So these are one of the most important advantages of Spring framework. Another is loosely coupling. So Spring framework is loosely coupling due to dependency injection. So Spring framework provides a feature that is dependency injection, and due to dependency injection, the loosely coupling. That means the between the objects, the bonding is loosely coupled between the objects. Okay. And another is easy to test, does not require server to run the application like EJB and struts. So since in Spring framework for testing, it is easy to test, it does not require server. So in Spring framework does not require the external server to run the application. So like EJB and struts. EJB means enterprise Java beans. Okay. And it is lightweight. Another advantage is lightweight. So Spring framework is very lightweight due to POSO implementation. So POSO means plain old Java. Since we are using the POSO here this for this reason, this is very lightweight. So these are the advantages of Spring, like lightweight, loosely coupling, and easy to test. Okay. Some other advantages are like fast development. So using Spring, we can make our development process fast due to dependency injection features. Fast development of Java enterprise application. Okay. It provides powerful abstraction. So it also provides powerful abstraction to JMA, JDBC, JPA, and JTA. Okay. So these are the abstractions which is provided by the Spring. These are also the advantages of Spring framework. Another one is declarative support. So it provides support for caching, validation, transaction, and formatting. So these are the declarative support provided by the Spring, that is caching. It provides the caching support, caching, validation support, validating the data, caching the data. Every time we need not to, caching means every time we need not to go to the database for the fetching the data. So caching mechanism is there. If the data is present in cache, we can easily in minimum amount of time we can fetch the data from the cache. Transaction, also formatting. These are the declarative supports provided by the Spring framework. So another one is IOC and dependency injection. Okay, so what is IOC and what is dependency injection? So these are the design pattern that are used to remove dependency from the programming code. So dependency injection is a design pattern which is used to remove the dependency from the programming code. They make the code easier to test and maintain. So they make the code easier to test and maintain. So in dependency injection, it's not the we not the worry about the creation of the object. It is the responsibility of Spring to create the object and inject the object over project. So when we require the object, we will just say to the Spring framework, we need this object, and Spring framework will provide the object to us. Okay. So an IOC makes the code loosely coupled in such a way that there is no need to modify the code if our logic is moved to the new environment. So the IOC makes the code in a loosely coupled in such a way that if we move to a new environment, we need not to change the modify the code every time. Okay, so these are the loosely coupling techniques. And in Spring framework, IOC controller is responsible to inject the dependency. Okay, so the IOC container is responsible to inject the dependency. When we provide metadata to the IOC container either by XML file or by annotation. So we only provide the metadata to the IOC container by XML file or by the annotations, and the IOC container it is the responsibility of IOC container to create the bean or object, to maintain the life cycle of the bean, and to inject the dependency also. Okay, so dependency injection features available due to this IOC container. Okay, so inversion of control. What is inversion of control? So Java components that are instantiated by the IOC container are called beans. Okay, so what is beans? So the Java components that are instantiated by the IOC container are called beans. So beans is a simple object, same as Java object, but difference is we are not creating the object. If we are creating object by the new keyword, this is called an object. But if that object has created by the IOC container, but by the Spring framework inside the IOC container, that object is called as a beans. Okay, so if the Java component instantiated by the IOC container are called beans. So how the beans are created? When we writing the annotations like @component or @service or @repository above the any class, that class treated as a beans and that class treated as a component, and it is instantiated by the IOC container. That object, that class object will created by the Spring in IOC container. Okay. So the IOC container manages the bean scope, its life cycle events, and any AOP features for which it has been configured and coded. Okay. So the sorry. So the IOC container manages the bean scope, its life cycle events, and any AOP features for which it has been configured and coded. Okay. So for which that bean is for which intention that bean is created or bean is required, that is IOC container decides, and it manages the bean scope or the scope of beans. So there are different scope of beans like a singleton scope, like prototype scope, session scope, request scope. Okay, these are the scope of beans. So this IOC container manages the bean scope, its life cycle event, and any AOP features for which it has been configured and coded. Okay. Another thing is, for example, inversion of control is about getting freedom, more flexibility, and less dependency. Okay, so the IOC container, the inversion of control is about to getting freedom, more flexibility, and less dependency of the between the objects. So it is giving the freedom to the object, more flexible between the object, and less dependency among the objects. So these all these things are maintained by this IOC container. So this is important part of the Spring framework. Okay. So there are two types of Spring IOC container found in Spring framework. So mainly there are two types of IOC containers are available. So one is bean factory container, used when there are a small project or the low resources. So bean factory container used when there are a small project or low resources. Another one is application context container. So this is for the big enterprise project. So for the big project, for the enterprise project, we will use the application context container, because application context container has some advantage over the bean factory container. So maximum we are using the application context container. So okay, so there are two types of containers. So these are the IOC container process, how IOC container process and create the bean. Okay, so business object POSO class. So these are the POSO classes where we have defined. Suppose there is a class laptop, and if we are writing the component of the laptop, so that class object will be created in the Spring IOC container. Okay, so we are providing the metadata here. You can see configuration metadata. So we are providing the metadata in the form of XML file or annotation to the Spring IOC container. Also the POSO class comes to the IOC container, fully configured application for use, and this IOC container create the object for the POSO classes which are configured in @component or @service. Okay. So the main task performed of the IOC container is to instantiate the application class. So it will instantiate the application class, to configure the object, to configure the object. That means to complete the life cycle of the object or beans, to assemble the dependency between the object, also to create the object from the creation to destruction, complete life cycle managed by the object. Also assemble the dependency between the objects. So it also maintain the relationship or dependencies between the object also. Okay, so there are two types of IOC container. They are bean factory and application context. So bean factory is present in Spring framework .beans.factory, and the Spring application context is org.spring framework.context.application context. Okay, so these two are containers which is present in these two packages. So advantage of application context over the bean factory. So application context container has some advantage over the bean factory. What are the advantages? So advantages like the application context interface is built on top of the bean factory interface. It has some extra functionality than bean factory. So the application context interface, both are the interface. this container means these are the interface, and technically we can say. So the application context interface is built on top of the bin factory interface. It has some extra functionality than bin factory, such as simple integration with Spring AOP. So it has the process of simple integration. So in bin factory the integration of AOP is very difficult. So simple integration with Spring AOP, message resource handling, event propagation, application layer specific context. Okay, so for example web application context for web application. So individual application context are provided for the individual web application development. So these are the development. Okay, so these are the advantages of application context over the bin factory. So it is better to use application context than bin factory. Okay, so every time it is better to use the application context over the rather than bin factory. Okay, so the end. Thank you guys. So if you think that you got some knowledge from this video, and if you want to motivate me by which I can make more video on this topic, so please like, share and subscribe the channel. Okay, thank you guys.